My name is Jake, and for about 80 days, I've been documenting my process working on my own animated series, The Seventh Sea, and posting it on YouTube, Instagram, and other platforms to try to grow a little bit of a following for this series. But something that I haven't really mentioned too often is that I've actually been working on this for a lot longer than that. But in these past 80 days, I have really locked in, and that has been my sole focus pretty much to create this first episode. And during that time specifically, I have faced a majority of my most difficult challenges. So the first thing that I started doing when I posted that initial video was working on the screenplay for this first episode. And since then, I've not only completed the screenplay, but I've done most of the storyboarding as well. I only have a few more character sheets to complete. I finalized ones for Zim, Cole, and Percy, the three main characters, and now I'm working on this one for Romanus. So I did skip ahead a little bit, but to go back to the start, I spent first like 6 or 7 videos just working on that screenplay, trying to write and make it as perfect as I possibly could. And then after that, I pretty much went straight into starting to design things like location, characters, and just trying to get a lot of the ideas that I had and had written into the screenplay down visually as well. My initial goal was for that to only take like maybe a month or a month and a half, but that was very much off the mark. That's kind of the same thing that I'm still working on, although like I said, I'm finalizing all of that. But it definitely has become very, very apparent that I need to value my time pretty much above everything else. So I'm just constantly looking for ways to shorten the time that it takes to do certain things. And so like, for example, when I was working on those character sheets, I was able to use a lot of that initial concept art and then restructure and tweak it a little bit to fit that final design. One of the things that I've been mentioning for a while as well is that I'm still looking for voice actors. I have gotten a few selected already that I'm pretty sure I'm going to choose for some roles, but I have nothing quite confirmed, and I'm absolutely looking for more still. So yet another thing that I've also been doing over this time is trying to learn pretty much everything that I possibly can about the 3D software Blender. So my idea is to pretty much have all of the backgrounds and even certain things like effects at certain times, although that's very specific, also be in Blender as well. So obviously I am going to want to know literally as much as I possibly can about that. But what I currently know is just about nothing. Even though I've been spending a ton of time just learning and just following tutorials as well, just trying to learn as much as I possibly can, I still feel like I am at step 0. So yet another person I'm looking for is an expert with Blender, someone who has a ton of experience and will be willing to help me out. That has definitely been the biggest challenge, I would say. Like I mentioned, it feels like no matter how much I learn, I still am just stuck at that ground level. And from what I've heard, it definitely doesn't feel like I am alone in that experience either. So that's why I really am looking for someone with a lot of experience. When it comes to the voice acting, a lot of what I've been hearing so far has been that really, really cartoonish inflection. You know, where you've got those high-pitched voices or just overall wacky sounding ones. What I am looking for, and what's definitely a lot more rare for me to see, are people who are able to have regular sounding voices that are simultaneously very interesting. They're able to take pretty much basic lines and with the proper context, bring some genuine emotion to them. And that's going to be really important for keeping some of these longer conversations more interesting to the audience who's watching. I'm currently doing a ton of different things, which is both a good and bad thing. It's very bad in terms of not really following the filmmaking process at all. Even though that was one of my initial things I really wanted to focus on, I have really drifted away from that. But that does kind of lead me to the good reason, which is that I'm never really burnt out at all. There's always something fresh to work on. If I'm getting very, very annoyed drawing something, I can switch to working in Blender. If I'm getting really bored with the 3D modeling, I'll work on something like storyboarding. So switching between these different processes isn't the most well-focused approach, but it does definitely let me work a lot more efficiently, I would say. This is my first project pretty much at all, or at least one of any sort of large scale. And so I'm also learning as I go. And so similar to like what I was saying for Blender, I'm pretty much taking every possible opportunity that I can to just learn as much as I can about filmmaking in general, about animation, 3D, effects, environment, color. But the one thing that I did come into this project with what I would consider as a sufficient amount of knowledge is the storytelling. And I do believe that the screenplay I've constructed is pretty good. And if I am able to bring it to life in the way that I envision, I'll be able to create something that is really, really high quality, even with no initial budget to begin with. Of course, I am still trying to improve everything, including my storytelling skills. And on that note, I have actually made a small change to the screenplay. Actually, more like 2 small changes, even though I thought I had it finalized. And I was able to take out a good chunk of unnecessary content, and I was able to replace it with a much shorter, easier to animate, and impactful scene that should just add a lot more to the episode. I have done some live streams as well. I don't think that'll be a really frequent thing, but it was cool to work on some of those character sheets on there. and I'll probably do one again in the near future. A lot of you are probably interested in the most is the actual animation aspect, and that is actually one of the things that I'm not really that personally skilled at. And so again, is going to be something that I'm going to need a lot of help with, and I'm definitely going to want to continue to improve on over time. So recently, one of the things that I've been doing as well is looking at a lot of other indie animation projects. And one of the things that I have noticed quite often is that a lot of the time they just don't reach any audience in general. And that is probably what would be the worst possible outcome for me. And so to make sure that doesn't happen, I've been posting these videos, not only documenting what I'm doing for other people to be able to follow along and hopefully inspire them to do something similar, but also, more importantly for this project, I'm able to grow a following before the actual episode releases. And that is pretty much the crucial step towards making this specific idea a reality. That's what's already gotten me the little bit of help that I have, and hopefully what's going to get me a lot of the help that I need to do the things that I've mentioned so far that I can't. And especially, like I said, for voice acting as well. My initial idea was to only have people I know do the voice acting, because I thought it'd be easier to maintain a quality control if everyone recorded from the same type of area, or rather same exact area, being here. But thanks to some good advice, I ended up deciding to not stick with that idea and open up voice acting to the community that I've created already for this project. And that was definitely the right way to go. Like I said, I've already got some voice actors that I'm pretty sure I'm going to select for some of these roles, and that is just awesome. But one thing I do keep emphasizing, and I would like to continue to emphasize, especially for anyone who is looking to do something similar, is that the one thing that I have found by far the most value in is constantly learning. To learn as much information and knowledge, as well as wisdom through people's experiences, is going to be crucial to making any project like mine successful. One of the reasons why I share what I'm doing every single day so that people can see the mistakes that I make, the things that I learn, that I find useful, as well as things to avoid doing as well. I'm definitely getting close to the stage of actually starting some animation, but of course I gotta finish these character sheets, storyboarding, tackle that most challenging aspect, which is those backgrounds. I am pretty much looking to do something that is almost exactly the same as the style that Demon Slayer goes for. Out of all the backgrounds that I've seen in anime, some of the best ones have been from Solo Leveling, Demon Slayer, as well as even in some 3D animation like Blue Eye Samurai. They have just some fantastic backgrounds, and I'd like to find something in that realm, like I said, pretty much really close to Demon Slayer, that'll fit the art style perfectly. As you all have probably noticed, one of the things that gets mentioned prominently is I have a weird looking art style. And although it's very difficult to try to achieve something similar, and it does look a little odd, after compositing, it is definitely going to be the most efficient way to go. It's going to be a lot easier, especially because no matter the situation, I'll be doing at least 90% of the animation for other people to try to get to my style rather than for me to try to get to other people's styles. But of course, in an attempt to make that a little bit easier, I have tried to simplify my style a little bit closer to like what I see most other artists do, but I don't want to lose the aspects that make what I'm able to create look good. So that is pretty much where I'm at the moment. It's definitely starting to feel a little bit overwhelming in terms of all the different stuff I have to do, but at the same time, the more that I learn and the more experience that I have every single day, the more I can really see that final product. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I'll see you guys in the next one.